Good morning, students. So let's continue with the same story, A Horse and Two Goats. We've done it yesterday. We've just done the introduction part. Now let's continue with the story here, A Horse and Two Goats. Page number 52. I'm sure you all are on the same page. Please open your book so that you can understand. It's a long chapter and it is important for you. Of the 700,000 villages dotting the map of India, now there are around 700,000 villages on the map of India. Kretam was probably the tiniest. This village, Kretam, was the tiniest village on the map, indicated on the district survey map by a microscopic dot. And you can actually see that it is there on the map, but the dot, it is just a microscopic dot that shows this village. Microscopic dot means the village is so tiny that it can only be seen on the map with the help of a microscope. But its size did not prevent its giving itself the grandiose name Kretam. So maybe the size was tiny, the size of the village was tiny, but the name of the village was grand, it was elegant, it meant Kretam. The name was Kretam, which meant crown, which meant in Tamil coronet or crown. On the brow of this subcontinent, the village consisted of, now underline from here, I want you all to underline in your books itself so that you know. Please, it is important, just mark it from here, right? The village consisted of less than 30 houses, only one of them built with brick and cement. Keep underlining, painted a brilliant yellow. So this house had around 30 houses, all were, your kacha houses, except one house, the big house that was made of bricks and cement. This house was brilliant yellow and blue all over, with gorgeous carvings of gods and gargoyles on its balustrade. Now, gods, the images of gods, in the villages, they often have these images of gods. They paint gods outside the wall. We're talking about a typical South Indian village, right? And gargoyles are the animal faces. They paint the animals as well on the walls. Okay, and balustrade means the railing, the outside wall. It was known as the big house. This house, which was built with bricks and cement, was known as the big house. The other houses, distributed in 4 streets, were generally of bamboo thatch, straw, mud, and other unspecified material. But there were some other houses. They were distributed in 4 streets, and they were all made of thatch, bamboo thatch, straw, mud, and some other unspecified material. Muni's was the last house in the 4th street, beyond which stretched the fields. Muni's house maybe was the last house, and after his house there were these fields. Okay. In his prosperous days, till here, stretched the fields till here. This is the description of the village, and it is very important, right? Now, in his prosperous days, Muni had owned a flock of 40 sheep and goats and sallied forth every morning, driving the flock to the highway a couple of miles away. Now, this poor person, Muni, there was a time when he was, rich enough. He had a flock of 40 sheep and goats, and every morning he used to take them on the highway, right? And there were some fields near it, and he used to do that. That there was the time once when he was rich. Okay, let's see what happens then. There he would sit on the pedestal of a clay statue of a horse. Now there was this clay statue of a horse next to the highway, and Muni, he used to sit on the pedestal, lower part of the statue. He used to sit there and watch his sheep graze. Now understand here, this horse statue was a statue that was made of clay, where the horse was actually crossing its paws, right, the uh, legs, and there was a soldier standing right next to it. Please, let's continue. We'll have the description of that statue, and that is very important. I'll make you mark that as well. So there he would sit on the pedestal of a clay statue of a horse while his cattle grazed around. He carried a crook at the end of a bamboo pole and snapped foliage from the avenue trees to feed his flock. He also gathered faggots and dry sticks, bundled them and carried them home for fuel at sunset. So what he used to do, see, he carried a crook. Crook is a sickle that you must have seen. It's a C-shaped kind of a sickle. You cut grass with it. So he used to cut grass with it. Then he used to what? Feed his flock. He also gathered faggots and dry sticks. So he used to carry the dry sticks so that they can use it as a fuel. And that's it. He used to carry them all at home. I hope this much is clear. Okay, then I'll continue. His wife, now mark this part. This is his daily routine. We have got the village. Now we know about Muni's house. It was in the 4th street. Now let's move to his daily routine, what they used to do. His wife lit the domestic fire at dawn, boiled water in a mud pot, threw into a handful of millet flour, added salt, and gave him his first nourishment of the day. So that was his breakfast. What she used to do, she used to boil some water where in a pot, the mud pot, and then she used to throw a handful of millet flour in it, added some salt, and that's it. That was his nourishment for the day. When he started out, she would put in his hand a packed lunch. So when he used to go out to graze his cattle, she used to do what? She used to pack his lunch. Let's see what she used to pack. Once again, the same millet cooked into a little ball, which he could swallow with a raw onion at midday. So maybe the same millet, what she used to do, she used to make balls of it, and he can actually swallow those balls, not actually swallow the whole ball, first take bites of it, and that too with the raw onion at midday. So that was a kind of his lunch. His fortunes had declined gradually, unnoticed. So there was a time when he was rich, but now he was not at all rich. He was somewhere around 70s, okay? From a flock of 40, understand? Once he had a flock of 40, which he drove into a pen at night, his stock had come down to the 2 goats. There was a time when he had 40, and now he just had two goats, which were tethered to the trunk of a drumstick tree, which grew in front of his hut, and from which occasionally Muni could shake down drumsticks. Now, there was a time when he used to tie these 2 goats under a tree, drumstick tree, that was right outside his house. And because Muni used to stay under its shadow, so it was nobody else's except Muni's, that tree. And sometimes Muni used to shake the tree so that he could get some drumsticks. Okay. This morning he got 6. Okay, maybe he was lucky this day. So he got 6 drumsticks. He carried them in with a sense of triumph. He carried those drumsticks back into the home with a kind of a success, triumph, victory. Although no one could say precisely who owned the tree, it was his. His means Muni's, because he lived in its shadow. So who was the owner of the tree? Nobody else except Muni. Right? Muni was the owner. Why? Because he lived under the shadow of the tree. Clear, simple answer. His wife said, "If you were content with a drumstick, leaves alone, I could boil and salt some for you." So she says here that, see, if you are satisfied with the leaves alone, then I can boil the leaves, put some salt for you. "Oh, I'm tired of eating those leaves. I have a craving to chew the drumstick out of sauce, I tell you." This line was said by Muni. So what Muni wanted, he was not at all interested in, having the leaf soup of drumstick. He wanted to chew drumstick out of sauce, right? Let's see what his wife has to say for that. "You only have 4 teeth in your jaw." Oh my God. So you don't have, a set of teeth. You just have 4 teeth in your jaw, but your craving is for big things. But your craving, your desires are for great things. All right, get the stuff for the sauce and I will prepare it for you. So she says, okay, you do one thing, go and get the stuff from the market and I'll prepare the sauce for you. After all, next year you may not be alive to ask for anything. So she's actually saying here that after all, maybe next year you won't be alive to ask for something like that. But first, get me all the stuff, including, now she has got a list of things here that she gives to him. But first, get me all the stuff. Get me everything that I need for to make the sauce, including a measure of rice or millet, and I will satisfy your unholy craving. So she says here, you go and get the stuff that I need and I will cook the sauce and the drumsticks so that you can fulfill your unholy cravings. Unholy, you understand? And cravings, your desires. Clear? Okay. Our store is empty today, so there's nothing in our kitchen today. Dal, chili, curry leaves, mustard, coriander, ginger oil, and 1 large potato. So she must have given a whole list what she wanted, and then that's it. Go out and get all this. He repeated the list after her in order not to miss any item and walked off to the shop in the 3rd street. Now he lived in the 4th street. There was a shop in the 3rd street. So he comes there to the shopkeeper and he knows he has got the whole list in his mind, what his wife wanted. Now there was a twist here. They do not have money. So he was supposed, maybe he was here next to the shopkeeper. He'll come here, but he wants everything, free of cost. Or maybe we can say that he just wanted things without paying anything, right? He had no money with him. So let's see, there's a thing here. We'll do it. Muni sat patiently on an upturned packing case. So maybe outside the shop, they must have kept these wooden boxes, the packing boxes, upside down so that people can sit on them. Below the platform of the shopman paid no attention to him. Now he was sitting there, he paid no attention. He knew that he is here only to take things on credit and he will not pay anything. Muni kept clearing his throat. Now how to attract shopkeeper's attention? So he kept clearing his throat. Like this is how we do it, right? Same thing. Coughing and sneezing. So he started coughing and sneezing to attract the shopkeeper's attention until the shopkeeper could not stand it. Means until the shopkeeper could not bear the coughing and sneezing anymore and demanded. And he said, "What ails you? What disturbs you? You will fly off that seat into the gutter if you sneeze so hard, young man." So the shopkeeper must have said, "Oh, see, please stop sneezing. What is it that is troubling you? Why, if you sneeze so hard, you fly into the gutter," right? Muni laughed inordinately, means he just had to laugh, in order to please the shopman at being called young man. So he was trying to say, okay, yeah, he's smiling for being called a young man. This completely won the shopman over. He liked his sense of humor to be appreciated. Now, shopkeeper liked it when people they appreciated his sense of humor. Okay. By thus humoring the shopman, Muni could always ask for one or two items of food, promising repayment later. So this is an old trick that Muni used to play. That you appreciate the shopkeeper, you take one or two things and promise the repayment later. Some days the shopman was in good mood and gave in, and sometimes he would lose his temper suddenly and bark at Muni for daring to ask for credit. So just imagine there were days when he got things from the shopkeeper, and there were days when the shopkeeper actually barked at him, right? And he got nothing. The shopman said, if you could find 5 rupees and a quarter, you will have paid off an ancient debt. How much have you got now? So the shopkeeper told Muni that, see, if you have 5 rupees and a quarter, then of course you would have paid what, an ancient debt. How much money do you have now? I'll pay you everything on the first of the next month. Muni promised him again that I'll pay you everything on the first of the next month as always. And whom do you expect to rob by then? So the shopkeeper says here, oh, as always. You always say that. And who do you wish to rob by that time? Muni felt caught and mumbled. When you're caught, when you're doing something wrong and you get caught, you are unable to say anything. The same thing happened here with Muni. He was unable to say anything. He just, mumbled. Mumble means speaking in your mouth. So my daughter has sent word that she will be sending me money. So what he told the shopkeeper, that my daughter has sent word that she'll be sending some money. Have you a daughter? Sneered the shopman. Sneered means making fun. And she is sending you money. For what purpose may I know? So everyone knew that he had no children. And that is why he says, oh, you have a daughter and she's sending you money. For what reason may I know? Muni, okay, birthday, 50th birthday, said Muni quietly. Now Muni was feeling embarrassed. He had to lie, right? And in that quiet voice, he's telling the shopkeeper that maybe she's sending me money for my 50th birthday. Birthday? How old are you? So the shopkeeper questions, your birthday? How old are you? Muni repeated weakly, not being sure of it himself. He was not sure how old he was. He repeated, 50. Okay, this part you can put in the bracket. He always calculated his age from the time of great famine, when he stood as high as the parapet around the village well. But who could calculate such things accurately nowadays, with so many famines occurring? Till here. So there was a time where how Muni knows about his age. He remembers that there was a time when there was famine and I was this high. The parapet is the outer wall of the well, and he must have calculated his height according to that wall. And he says, okay, this is my age. But how is it possible to remember age now when there are famines every next year? Okay. The shopman felt encouraged when other customers stood around to watch and comment. Now, maybe there were some people who were passing by, they all stopped and they were watching the scene. Now, shopkeeper, he got encouraged and he started making fun of Muni. More likely you are 70, he said to Muni. You also forget that you mentioned a birthday 5 weeks ago when you wanted castor oil for your holy bath. So he says here, just 5 weeks ago, you celebrated your birthday and you took castor oil from me for your holy bath. At this, Muni unobtrusively rose and moved off. Means he tried to be, you know, he didn't want it to get noticed, and he just rose and moved off without saying a word. He felt embarrassed. He was insulted by the shopkeeper. So for today, we'll do it till here. You know, we have a long chapter, but we need to finish it. So till here, we'll do it. So finally, he moved off. I'll continue with the same tomorrow or in the next video. That's it. Please do read it. If you have doubts, do let me know. Because if you miss it, if you miss any line, if you miss any part of the story, you will not understand it. You can write this sequence in your rough notebook so that you know that first in the chapter there's the village Kirtan, then they talk about the house of the Muni, then they talk about the daily routine, then they talk about the drumstick soup and how the shopkeeper's scene is created. So you should know the sequence, then only you'll be able to learn it. This is a pretty long chapter. Okay then, I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you.